Welcome, Grar. It's only Grar, right? So I can't, not Facebook land, but Grar Realtor land. Welcome, Grar Realtor. Julie Reberg's here. Speak louder. I don't know my name because I was dared to dress up as somebody. So who am I supposed to be, Dustin?
Caesar Flipwick.
Caesar from what?
The Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games.
You look fantastic.
Because this market's nuts, huh? Is it the Hunger Games for the buyers? It is, basically, right?
Very good.
All right. Well, I appreciate the double dog there. Down for the challenge. Thank you, whoever is logging on now, or if you catch on later. Hopefully, we can spend a little bit of time here and interview some experts from our industry and learn some good stuff, share some good information, some wisdom with realtors out there, right? I think in a market like this and topics that we're going to discuss, I mean, this is for a brand new rookie agent or a veteran. I mean, we're kind of in uncharted waters here. We're all trying to learn and see what someone else is doing. So this should be a good discussion to go over some stuff. So let's introduce ourselves and maybe just name, brokerage, and how long you've been in the business.
Okay.
Start with you.
Beau Otis with Green Ridge Realty. I've been in the business for 13 years.
Dustin Anderson, 5-Star Real Estate. Started in July of 2015.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Van Duinen-Scully, and I've been in the business for 17 years, and I'm with Remax Grand Rapids.
Nice. Lots of experience there. I can't add like you can. You say years. However, whatever that added up to. 100 years of experience. So we should get some good nuggets of wisdom out of this. Thank you for coming. Thank you for volunteering your time. Why don't we start? And we're mainly going to focus on listings and the listing market, but almost with an approach on some of it to help buyers agents, right? To get in the mind of a listing agent. And the three of you do a lot of listings. But you're on the other side too with buyers, so you can appreciate being on the flip side. And but today, put your listing cap on and how you handle some of the tactics and strategies and stuff with your sellers, and share some of that information. We'll just go right down the line, starting with you, Lindsay. I'm going to ask a few questions and share whatever you want, and we'll have some good dialogue. So, in a market today, listing strategy. Right, you're going to list a house. We all kind of do things somewhat similar, but then we have our own parts of strategy. But considering the market we're in, super low inventory, seller's market, let's talk about some specific strategy that you do, and some of that being, what day to list the house on, when to allow showings, how long to allow showings, different things like that. So why don't you speak to a little bit of that?
Yeah, I would, obviously my strategy over the years has really changed. Starting 17 years ago, we would anticipate 60 to 90 days for any of our listings, and now, if they're on for more than 6 days, we know something's wrong with the house, it's overpriced, and that's been a crazy transition, and just trying to learn the new trends and how sellers and buyers are working in this super competitive market. I would say a lot of my strategy comes based from just my clients' needs. I work with a lot of young families, and a lot of that comes from just trying to help put them in a position where they can get out of their house, allow them enough time to get buyers into their home, and then really try and maximize that in sales price for my clients. At the end of the day, their sales price is really most of what my clients are super concerned with is their check at the end of the closing. So I would say I really rely a lot on my clients and take some direction from them. A lot of times in this market, I try to list the houses on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then really review offers Monday or Tuesday.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So just collectively as a panel, what's the preferred day? So you're Wednesday, Thursday?
I would say Wednesday, Thursday for me.
You?
I always list on Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Yep, ready to go.
I would agree. Sparkle microphone. I would agree. I'm a Thursday morning guy, though occasionally there's some delays, but I do shoot for Thursday at some point.
Okay.
In most cases.
let's talk why. Because someone else did it in your office, another listing, why? Right? Where's the strategy? What day and why that day? Right? So Thursday seems to be the one that all three of you agree on. So give me any of you.
Yeah, I feel like if you list on Thursday and then you wait to present offers on, I always present offers on Monday night.
Okay.
That gives you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and part of Monday to be on the market. So 5 full days on the market is usually enough for everybody that would be interested to go through and decide if they're interested. And in this market, because there's obviously so many buyers out there, usually by Monday you have a stack of offers to look at. So I feel like 5 days on the market is plenty. And then we also all talked about this. I'm going to throw you all under the bus. You know, some agents are calling for offers due on Sundays, and we can all collectively groaned about that because a lot of us have families, a lot of us have kids, and we want to be present in their life too. And so when weekends are kind of like that precious time with family, and then I mean, not to complain, like we're all happy to have business, but like when you have to write an offer on Sunday and compete against 30 other people, it takes a lot of energy just to submit the offer, and then you may or may not get the offer accepted, and you lost 3 hours, 4 hours of your time.
Good point. I mean, you can move to Holland because they don't. So with that, the spirit is have the offers due on a business day.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
How
for
many
instance,
months-
it's Father's Day this coming Sunday, right? I'd like to spend time with my kids and my family, and not only as a buyer's agent having to work on those Sundays, but if I'm setting the deadline on a Sunday as a listing agent, well, guess what? I better be ready to take calls, receive calls, and deal with all the chaos that goes along with upcoming deadlines.
Can't disagree with that. Why Thursdays? Why throw your
So
houses up?
for me, again, I deal with a lot of clients who have younger children. I'm a firm believer in some market exposure time. So my strategy tends to be list on a Thursday, internet exposure on Thursday, no showings till Friday. It allows them to get out of Dodge for the weekend, go to parents, go on a vacation. I'm in a vacation Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come back in their home Sunday with no showings taking place after that, usually presenting offers on a Monday. And part of that's not just because it's best for my seller clients, but I put myself in a buyer's agent's shoes. And we've all been through this. Before this whole strategy came apart in what was a hot market, I'd say in 2019, we were scrambling around. Something would hit the market on a Thursday, and I had to drop everything I was doing as a buyer's agent to go show this house because it may not be around in 6 hours. So I think this allows some flexibility for buyers to be able to get through buyer's agents who maybe have scheduled conflicts. And then, of course, like Lindsay said, it's usually a best case scenario for my sellers and nets them the best price in terms.
Fair. Well, you got to think about also buyers' schedules. So not all buyers are typically working, like the majority of them are working a 9-to-5 job. So if you can't get in on Thursday or Friday or Monday, then you at least have a weekend that's open. So that makes the most amount of sense for a seller and for a buyer's schedule to at least get through the house.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, some buyer's agents are stating, hey, why the weekends we want to enjoy them, but it's about the client, right? And we usually work when our clients aren't, if they have the 9 to 5. So
And really having that option to show on a business day, like Friday or Monday, I feel like gives buyer's agents that opportunity so they don't have to be working all weekend if, their clients can get in. I think it really broadens that range so it really fits, really if you work during the week or if you work nights, it just opens up a lot more options to get into the
And I'll add, I'd like to see some deadlines extended into Tuesday and Wednesday. We're hitting the summer months, right? So if Friday, Saturday, Sunday are my only options to look at homes, well, I want to get away for a long weekend as a buyer or as a buyer's agent or a listing agent.
I think you're trying to
I am. That's exactly right.
So Beau wants vacations. Dustin went 4-day work week. Lindsay, you sound. Lindsay wins.
Lindsay all about the client.
Lindsay had the right answer. So with that though too, right, and I think those are all good answers and they make sense. That's one question I was going to ask is, why not do a whole week and get more people in? And with that, I'll state, because I list houses as well too, we're becoming such a transient area, West Michigan, people moving here from all over, and if they can't make it up that weekend, are you missing out? Any thoughts or comments on that?
I think a lot of that just comes down to my client schedules and really if they, getting out of their house for 3 to 4 to 5 days is sometimes tough if they have kids, if they have pets. I usually try and put their house on the market if they have a vacation plan or something where they're going to be out of town for a longer period of time. It just makes it easier for everyone if they're completely out of the house and you just have free reign to show their home.
My concern with like the full week is just how long is too long to make a very interested buyer wait. So they're like super interested and they go through the house the same day that's listed, and then they have to sit there and twiddle their thumbs for 7 days. You also have an opportunity to lose their interest because another house might be listed that same week. So I don't know, like 7 days, and I haven't like tested it, but I like that question. But it feels like maybe too long to have an interested buyer wait.
And sometimes I forget to come back to them. I'm like, oh, I can't show that house for a week. Or, it's like 5 days out before you can get in there. And then I forget to come back to it because it just slipped my mind. And so, yeah.
Good answers. What about the flip side, though? What if the client, or have you had sellers or clients who don't want all that exposure? They want a good offer, less traffic. Because some people are getting upset saying, hey, I thought it was you should get the weekend and offers due on Monday and you didn't do that. I mean, maybe speak to a scenario, any of you, on why you would maybe not do an offer deadline or the whole weekend for showings.
Yeah, I mean, it's really client driven. I have that discussion with every one of my clients. I could sell your home off market, no question. In fact, most sellers come to me and say, oh, I've got 2 people who want to buy my house before we even sign listing paperwork. And I tell them, hey, that's an option. I can be a transaction coordinator if you want to sell to those folks. But obviously, in this market, opening it up to the market is going to get you the best price, the best terms without question. And usually that's what, that's what the driver is, right? The highest net dollar at the end of the day, a potential large appraisal gap, delayed possession, so on and so forth. So usually you're going to get better terms on an open market. That's not to say there aren't some sellers whose life circumstances just say, hey, you know what, I'm happy if I get this dollar amount to proceed. I've had a couple of those instances, but for the most part, it's price and terms at the end of the day.
So I had one this week where a seller called me and she, had some difficult stuff that she went through and is already living in her new home. And she's a little concerned or self-conscious about the condition of the home. And she just said, if there's a way that you can sell this without me having to put a sign in the yard, and I can just sell it to somebody that's willing to give you a fair price, I would much prefer that. And so obviously I'm not going to bend her arm and say, hey, let's put it up. Like, you need to clean this up. We're going to put it on the market. So yeah, she drove that option, and so currently looking for someone to purchase that house.
I think it's important to mention that every seller, and most of the sellers are people who they aren't privy to these conversations. They don't understand we all kind of have a deadline in certain days, and every seller's different. And it's case by case, and some just want to sell their house. They don't want a lot of people coming.
Well, COVID was a good example of that, right? During COVID, there were people who were scared. I don't want a bunch of people trouncing through my house. I'd rather just sell it to someone. If you know someone, I could do one showing, some virtual showings. So obviously things are loosening up a bit with that. But during COVID, I think we saw more of that because of the fear of.
So on the topic we were just talking about, we had someone ask a question from Facebook on the issue of Mondays. And then you can only write on one property. And if you miss out, you can't get to the other one because you're waiting. So any thoughts to that? Any creative answers or solutions?
Yeah, I've been in a couple spots like that where I've had agents call me and they'll say, you're my number one choice, but our second and third choice, their offers are due at 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. And I want to be really respectful of that because I know I've been in very similar situations where I'm like, we don't get number one, we need a house, we got to go to number 2 and number 3. So I feel like a lot of times if you call the agent and just explain the situation and say, am I in the running? Am I in your top 2? And I've told lots of agents, I'm like, you should pursue your second choice because we've got significantly better offers. And I really appreciate when they're honest. I did have an agent write 2 offers and she didn't tell me she was writing 2 offers, and then we took hers and we were her second choice. So that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like if she would have just been upfront with me and said, hey, just so you know, we're writing on another house. They would really prefer this other house over yours.
Is that even, I'm just curious, I don't know the answer, I should know. Is that even legal to write 2 offers and submit both? Is it
I was only hired to ask questions.
Where's the bar legal?
You turn that camera around and maybe a couple people over there who can. Ask your broker.
Yeah, I
That's
will.
your great answer.
Paul, Greg? Wendy Caterberg asked that question. Great question. Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I think Lindsay answered it really well. It just, and I hate saying it, but it is what it is, right? I mean, that's the way it crumbles. You got to write on the one you like the most. You got to take that risk, and you got to remember that there will be more inventory. So if you lose out, you miss those deadlines, well, it's on to the next one.
It's a good market, but it's a challenging market, right? So there's gonna be some winners, there's gonna be some people who lose out, and it's not a fair market though, but that's how it works, right? And it's tough. If we could do something to make it fair for everyone, but there are disadvantages to letting your listing go too long, and having too many people and too many offers, and people change their mind. And, it's happened multiple times where someone asks you to wait because they have a great offer for you, and so you do, and then they don't, right? So, and I say that just to play both sides, right? I think there's got to be a lot of grace and understanding going in both directions, and there's got to be over communication.
That's the communication is the key.
Buyers call. Too often, I'll share from myself, and I'm sure it's happened to you, but you get a call 2 days after your deadline, and they say, "Hey, we never heard anything on your offer." Well, hey, who are you? Right? Like, you never even called me to say you liked it, you didn't fill out feedback, and you sent it to the wrong email address. I mean, that stuff can happen. So, buyer's agents, you got to call that listing agent, you got to double check stuff, because you're just trying your best to put your client in the best position to win, so you have to go that extra.
I want to speak to that point. So, I was writing an offer yesterday for clients, and they had a 10 a.m. deadline, which was a little unique, but we were down to the wire just because my clients were from out of town, so I was literally writing the offer that morning, yesterday morning. And I know the agent is going to be swamped in the morning with calls, right, just before the deadline. So one of the things I did, I sent her a text. Hey, it's Beau. I'm planning to write. I know I'm close to your deadline. I've got a couple of questions. Can you call me when it's convenient for you? So I agree. We should always be communicating with the listing agent. But I thought it was a considerate way for me to say, hey, I'm not going to pick up the phone and bother her. She could be swamped right now, burdened, bogged down. Shoot a quick text out. Let her know to call me as soon as she can. And she did. She picked up the phone and called me within 5 minutes. So I guess I want people to think of that. When I'm a listing agent and it's 2 hours before the deadline, my phone's ringing off the hook. And I think it's a considerate way to do it. Just shoot a quick text, call me when you get a second, and you can do it. So,
Yeah, good point. Let's move on a little bit. We'll still stick with listings, but what are some suggestions you have for buyer's agents when they're presenting offers to you in such a competitive climate? So we just discussed communication, right? Again, let's talk in general what you like as a listing agent to receive. And then if we have any creative ideas, let's come up with something that can help everybody out.
I just had a listing this past weekend and we ended up with like 13 offers, and I was going through those and I was so interested to find, especially because I knew I was going to be talking on this panel, but I only got 3 cover letters out of 13 offers. And I thought that was so interesting because when you're sifting through all that paperwork and so many details, it's so easy to miss a separate addendum where they did a $25,000 appraisal gap. If they would have put that on a cover page and said, we're waiving inspections, $25,000 appraisal gap. It's just really easy to miss some of those details. And I just think if you can really help the listing agent know how strong your offer is right out of the gate. I think it's
So a full offer package, a cover letter or offer summary, a purchase agreement, filled out properly, dates, all initials, signatures, right? Important it is a legal contract. Seller's disclosure, lead-based paint, if they're there, have those ready and available.
Copy of the EMD
Copy of the EMD, pre-approval letter, or
And/or proof of funds.
proof of funds. What about proof of funds for an appraisal gap?
Definitely.
great.
Yeah.
A bonus there, maybe?
Yep.
Okay.
Starting to do that.
Yeah.
And pictures of the buyers and love letters? No. Maybe. It's everybody's choice.
In
Ask
fact, I just saw something, I forget what state it was, but they banned that.
They did. That's why I said it. Don't listen to what I'm asking. Okay, so summary, cover letter, purchase agreement, disclosures, good faith check, and proof of funds,
And any addendums.
and any addendums that might be needed. Okay, so that is a full offer package. If you don't do that, or if you're out there wondering, well, why does it matter? I got them the offer. We're trying to not just decide which offer is best for the client, right? And we let them decide, but which one has the best chance of closing, right? If it's unorganized from the start or poor communication from the start, it's hard not to notice that. So
You're telling a story with every action. So if you, I mean, no offense to people that handwrite offers, but if you send an offer and it's handwritten and it's sloppily handwritten, and you send me an email and you don't say anything in the email, and that's all you send me, you've never called me one time, I don't have a lot of faith in you. And then I'm just being
and
honest.
what if that offer is the GRAR 2006 revision?
There we go.
Yeah.
Can we speak to that for a moment?
That's the one in my
Let's
car.
use the newest version of the purchase.
So we're all on the same.
Yes, there are updated.
Can I touch on one thing that both said that? No, it was great.
Yes,
So when you were talking about how you sent a text instead of calling, I think that's super wise. Another thing that I'm starting to see as well is if you can't get a hold of the listing agent, which makes sense because sometimes you're super busy, you're taking lots of phone calls that same day, there might be 20 offers on the same property. Another way to create that good impact is to actually, and it feels a little awkward, but to do like a little selfie video where you're like, hey, it's Dustin Anderson from 5-Star Real Estate.
Show up at Dustin's house.
Yeah, Dustin. I just want to let you know I'm turning this in, and the reason I'm sending you a video is because I understand you're busy, and I wanted to just make sure that I'm communicating well, letting you know that I'm about to turn in this offer. Here's a couple things to think about. If you have any questions, let me know.
well, give him that sparkling.
I gotta up my
He's high
You
maintenance.
have not sent me a video yet.
Wow. I know, I need
to.
to. I'm just starting to do this.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Well, and there are always ways to help you guys. So I had the opportunity to work with Lindsay on a transaction. I do a cover letter for all my offers when I submit them, but hers was branded and really pretty, and mine's kind of plain Jane. So it's on my to-do list to make mine look better. And now start doing video.
Yeah. I'll make the lender do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
One thing that I just started doing that I think has helped eliminate a lot of the random calls, like the call I always get, oh, just calling to see what's most important to your seller. I get that on every listing. So I started putting in the agent comments, I put out like their top things,
Yeah.
like these are the most important things. And that has streamlined a lot of the calls so that you're really getting the good targeted calls versus, oh, just curious what's important. Well, you know, price, appraisal gap, shortened inspections, waive.
How do you write a good offer?
Yeah, so I think just,
Let me explain.
and I call about some of those things too, you know, just a lot of times having comments about the possession, because that tends to be one that's, you know, it can have different varying answers. So if you just put in there, they're moving out of state, they need possession for sure through July 1st or whatever those times are, I think it really helps eliminate a lot of the useless questions.
Good point.
Yeah, so I had that as a note here. I think it's really important as buyer's agents that you're reading the listing details, you're reading the agent remarks, you're reviewing the seller's disclosure, the attached documents, so that when you call that listing agent with questions, you've got all your questions. Have I done it? Sure, probably. I missed something and I had to pick up the phone again. But what can drive you crazy as a listing agent is when you have the same buyer's agent calling you 5 different times on 5 different topics, right? We are busy, so be courteous of that, be respectful of that. And I'd say as a listing agent, like Lindsay said, be proactive. That's what the agent remarks field's for, to talk about those things, to be able to share those details with buyer's agents. Attached documents, I'll go there. Condos, attach all the bylaws, all that information. The more you can provide buyer's agents as a listing agent up front, the less they're going to burden you for that information, the less contingencies you may have in an offer. So I think it goes both ways. As a buyer's agent, do a good job reviewing the information. As a listing agent, do a good job providing.
Right. But it goes both ways. We just told them all to call and over communication. We can't get upset if they're calling both times. But read the MLS card. There's information on there. So let's cover communication. How do you want that offer, that full offer package, delivered to you? What's the preference, or should it be a couple forms of, delivery?
One email.
Okay.
I was just looking back through offer property that I was getting an appraisal on today, and one agent had sent me 5 different emails. Like every document was separate, and so I was just laughing because I knew I was going to be here today. But I'm like, if you can download all those documents, I use Download. So if you can download them all and just re-upload them as one attachment, and then just share that with the agent, it just eliminates the opportunity of losing. Oh shoot, they did have an appraisal gap. I didn't even get that email.
So email or .loop and email?
I do both.
Okay.
If I'm on the buyer side of things, I will call the listing agent and say, how do you prefer your offer package to be delivered? Do you want it to be .loop and attached PDFs? Do you want one PDF with everything attached to it? And then if I don't get that information from the listing agent, it's going to be two. So it's going to be an email with everything broken down in the email, highlights about the offer, why our offer's great, why I'm easy to use, why I'm great, why the lender is great, and then one PDF is attached to that email. And then I also say, be on the lookout next for my .loop email, which I'll have everything attached to separate PDFs. Yeah. So whatever way they prefer, they can choose, but that's how I do it.
So
I do it exactly the same as that.
now .loop, if everyone titles it the address, you can create one loop with multiple offers in there and you can miss them. So how do you prefer? Do you want address plus buyer name so that you can separate them? Has anybody run into that?
I go through my email, so I go through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do it.
I don't pay attention to that.
If you get 22 offers though, really at 23 and one was just tucked in another loop, exact same,
Yes.
so it can happen. So be aware of that, but that's where I think, buyer calling to let you know that they sent one. Are you good with that? Do you want the confirmation? Are you willing to give the confirmation to buyers?
Absolutely.
Even though you might have
I
a
think
ton of them
it's
coming?
respectful thing to do. Yep.
Okay. So we have a few more questions on here. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about for strategy for buyers. So for you representing the sellers, so you're talking to your sellers, where's the value in appraisal gaps, in skipping appraisals, in no inspections, shortened inspection period, right? Some of these terms that have come out of this market, how do you view them? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Let's talk first inspections. Thoughts on that?
Obviously, I've had a lot of offers lately where they're just completely waiting inspections. So that really, depending on the house and how much, when it was built, the age of the mechanicals. I think that all kind of plays into your client's willingness to take an offer that is contingent on inspections or maybe that they've waived. I had one last week where we ended up taking an offer that had inspections. One that had waived it that was $3,000 lower, but they just felt like their house was in good enough condition that they would pass their inspections. So we took the risk. So there's definitely, I think it really is case specific on the house. If overall it's a really tight house, they've updated a lot of those mechanicals. I think a lot of times they'll go for more money over taking the risk for inspections. So that's what I found.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're seeing waived inspections, which obviously sellers love. But
And I love.
yeah, same here.
One less thing for
But the next best thing to that is going to, if the house is listed on a Thursday, offers are presented on Monday or Tuesday, that does give you time to do a pre-inspection. Assuming the listing agent is cool with that or the sellers are cool with that.
Notified, communicate.
Right, notified, yeah, do not have an inspector just also.
Sellers can't come home and see some dude on the roof with a ladder.
Don't
Care
schedule
if
it
it's-
as a show when
Yeah.
it's an inspection.
Even if
Don't
it's your
let it,
dad or
don't let it
whatever,
be a
like,
3-hour
no.
thing, but let it be, a 30-minute making sure all the vitals are there. And so then you can waive inspections and communicate to the listing agent that, hey, we did this pre-inspection and we're totally good with it. I think that's almost better than waiving
So
inspections
good tip.
altogether.
So gets rid of a contingency. How about appraisals? Let's talk about that.
You ask me like,
Well,
Big
any
topic.
thoughts?
Yeah,
Appraisals?
so I actually have a note here, and on this offer I wrote yesterday, going back to the other question, one of the things I like as a listing agent, I love to hear from your lenders. I think it's fantastic. If your client's getting a loan, and your lender is going to call me. That means the world to me. So on the offer I was writing yesterday, I called my client's lender in advance, let him know about the details of the home, asked that he reach out to the listing agent, and he goes, Beau, let me run some numbers. I've got an appraisal waiver at your client's max price. You can waive the appraisal in your offer on this property. So now as a buyer's agent, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. We can waive the appraisal if my client's not worth it. So what I guess I'm saying is, as buyer's agents, communicate with those lenders before you're writing offers for your clients. Two, as buyer's agents, ask the lenders to reach out to the listing agents to confirm they've been approved, pre-approved, they're solid, so on and so forth. That goes a long way. And as far as receiving offers, I think appraisal waiver sounds really, really good, right? Not contingent on appraisal. Of course, gaps are fantastic, but gaps don't mean a whole heck of a lot unless you've got some sort of proof to back it up. And I know, we've got reputations amongst each other. We know and trust agents and lenders, and sometimes that accounts for something. But there's nothing better than proof that you can bridge that appraisal gap. So.
Yeah, good point. So any other strategies, any other things that your sellers like to see or you like to see? How about this then? So,
Big numbers, cash.
I would call it the three, hitting the home run of an offer is no inspections, no appraisal or full appraisal guarantee, really high price. If you had to pick one of the three, where are you seeing sellers put more value? Is it price, or would they come down in price if the other contingencies weren't there?
Typically, I think it's inspections for most of my clients. They feel a lot more at ease knowing that there's no inspection. But if that means the difference between $20,000, I think they will take the risk of the inspection.
Okay.
I would say it's no appraisal or appraisal guarantees. I mean, you can shoot to the moon with your price, but if it's not going to appraise there,
It's not,
and I've got a clean house where I'm not real worried about inspections, to me, it's no question, almost in every case for the seller, the appraisal guarantee. We would accept an offer lower than another if it's got a higher gap or no appraisal.
Yeah.
Depending on what those offers look like, my analysis of the property, what I think it's worth.
So depending on the deal, the client, and if you are out there thinking of writing an offer and you don't know which of the three, call the listing agent and ask, hey, what's valuable to you as an agent? How do you like to see offers structured? What's valuable to your client, your seller? What are they looking for? What's most important to them? Doesn't hurt to ask, right? So, okay, let's keep going then with price. How are we pricing these homes in this market? Are we pricing them for a bidding war to go up? Or are we pricing them a little bit high and still getting a bidding war? Or are we scared to price them high and miss our deadline with no offers?
I've got a great example yesterday. So I comped out a house on the northwest side. 200 is where we've been at as far as price goes. I see a pending sale literally 3 doors up, almost an identical home. Call the agent, ask the details. It went for 240. It appraised for 240. It was also listed at 200. So now I'm in a bit of a predicament where I told my client a month ago 200 based on comps data. It's literally taken a $40,000 swing in a month. And so, do we price it at 2, knowing it's going to drive up just like the other one? Do we price it at 225? Do we price it at 240? And so I think those are things you got to talk through with your clients. But I'm one who prices based off the most recent data, especially in this market. We can't be going back 6 months for comps because what sold 6 months ago is way different than what sold 14 days ago and maybe hasn't even closed yet. So I think that, again, comes down to doing your research, making phone calls sometimes, asking about pending sales, and looking at the most recent sold. I'm one who wants to price it as close to current market value. I don't need 100 offers to get a good offer for my clients, right?
I don't want 100 offers.
I don't want 100, please no, exactly. So I stay away from pricing low in this market. And in fact, at market or recent count data, maybe even plus 3% is kind of the rule in my opinion. So.
Good. Dustin, Lindsay, anything else to add to?
Yeah,
Pricing.
I want to price it right where I see the most recent sales have sold for, because I feel like even when you price it at that point, almost every time it's going to go still above that. And you also got to be careful how you talk to your sellers too, because some sellers are hearing these glory, amazing stories, and maybe the house that they have to sell isn't quite dialed in as some of the other ones are, but they're not necessarily thinking about that. And so I think it's really important as a listing agent to set expectations and say, listen, this is what's been happening. I cannot guarantee that that's also going to happen to you. And like you said, sharing that data, calling the house across the street that's currently pending and figuring out how active that was. And then sitting down with your sellers and setting that expectation. But I think always it's going to be, what does the current market data tell us it's worth? And I would go so far as to say, I want to see it sold first, because if the whole public doesn't know what a house is pending for, and you're already above, they're like, well, that one, was listed for 200,000, it's not closed yet. They don't know it sold for 240 yet.
It'll be in my agent remarks.
Yo, that's beautiful. That's smart.
So-
that's smart.
So let's. We don't need a role play because I'm the only one dressed up. But, let's talk scripts here.
Oh boy.
I'm your client. I got good taste, obviously. High maintenance. I disagree with your comps, and I'm set on my price at $550. I'm not doing $530 like you want. What do you do? What do you say to them? You taking the listing? Will you do it?
I think in this market, I would definitely take it. And I think you just kind of prep them for that. I'm seeing that the comps are at 530. Let's give it a shot at 550. And I've been wrong the last times before, where it ends up selling for 560 or 570, and I told them I thought it wasn't going to sell for any more than 525.
I think as long as you're shooting straight with them and you're saying,
Yeah.
hey, listen, like if you think it's going to go for 550, that's fine, but here's the potential risk, and here's the potential, risk or pros and cons of what I'm suggesting. So as long as you're at least getting everything out in the open and talking about it, and you're not just pulling something on the sellers, I think you just gotta talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's probably a threshold, right? I mean, if you're way out in left field. Your example was $30,000, a small percentage of the overall price. You know, if you're 15% above what I think it's worth, well, yeah, maybe I'm not the best agent for you. And
Yeah,
but if you're 5 or 3, I like what you said. I let data drive it. I'll show you some sold examples where they started high, had to reduce, and ultimately, usually when that happens, you see they took a bigger hit than folks who priced it right that ended up going over. So I try to show the data to my sellers to help them understand the negative impacts of overpricing.
And important to note, usually in the opposite of this market, but you have a fiduciary as a licensed agent to give them the real value. So, and if you're struggling with that, ask your broker. Get some education on it. There's different things out there for pricing, but it's okay to say no and walk away from a deal. And sometimes I know a bunch of us would probably say this, not in this market, but we'd rather be the second agent. Right? So, okay to say no. Good thoughts on pricing. I think that's good questions. Are you finding in calling other agents, because we don't have the solds or the prices are moving so high, are they willing to share information about a pending? Do you think that's okay? Is that something we encourage? Some, professional peer-to-peer sharing information, or at least saying how many offers they had, or yes, it did sell over the price. Anyone have experience with getting that information or being denied that information?
Yeah, I just got it on the one I told you about, and this agent was kind enough. I asked them when they're closing and if they're okay sharing it. They're far enough along to be willing to share it, and they were extremely forthright. Yeah, Beau, it's already no inspections. It's already appraised. Here's how many showings I had. Here's how many offers I had. Here's the spreadsheet. This was amazing. I was so thankful. Here's the spreadsheet I used to present to my sellers. So they showed me all the offers and what they looked like.
Yeah.
And I had the last names of all the agents who didn't, which are on my list to call to let them know about my upcoming listing. So I think it's just, it's good. We're here to work together. Can I hold things a little tight and a little close as a listing agent? If it's day one after accepting an offer, yeah. But I think once you move forward, you see that transaction is likely to close. I mean, there's no guarantees until it happens. But once you see it's likely to close, share that info.
Good points. I'll throw in one piece. We're gonna go to the last question, talk a little bit about that. We are running longer than I was hoping to wear this outfit, and I need some time to take this makeup off so I can go land a listing tonight. So gotta move on here. I think one theme that wasn't really said, but you've all hinted at it, is the communication, the professionalism, even that last question. We're all playing in the same sandbox. It's friendly competition is what it really has to be. And communicating with agents is great, but if you know that agent or you've met them, or if Dustin's just send him a video or whatever of you, volunteer at GRAR, come to events, and it's not even volunteering or being on a committee, but GRAR puts on things where you can come eat tacos and even sometimes drinks out back, right? So show up, meet agents, shake hands. That goes a long way. I'm not going to say your offer rises to the top, but it helps when you know another agent and you've met them and you can put a face with a name. And I think that's really, really important. Obviously difficult last year, but it's important. It's important to do, and especially since most of us have photos on our Facebook from like 10 years ago and on our business cards. We need to see what you really look like. Right? All right. Just want to throw that in there. Julie's not here. She didn't ask me to tell people about it.
Our fantastic president, it comes down to the spirit of cooperation.
Yes.
Right? So that's
Good point. Last question here. Inventory is really low. We know that. The stats just came out like 0.5 of a month. I mean, I've been doing this 21 years. That is the lowest inventory we have ever had. Some sellers have fears over listing their homes with nowhere to go. Some sellers, I have a handful of sellers, but I have to find them a house first. So let's talk strategy and what we're doing with these sellers, or are you at all talking them into listing and getting over that fear, taking advantage of this high market and finding a location? I mean, it's a good question, and maybe what comes out of it is some solutions, right, or some listings, because we need the inventory. But let's just speak to that. Any thoughts on that? Nothing's off limits there, just whatever comes to mind. Beau, start with you.
Yeah, I mean, we got to have those conversations with our sellers. It's a real fear, right? Nobody wants to be homeless. Though it's a little easier maybe in June and July in Michigan. Let's face it, it's not December and January. So, yeah, you got to have the conversation. You got to look at the options. The first thing I talk with folks about is, hey, what's your comfort level and your ability to be able to buy before you sell? And that can be tricky and different for every client, every seller client. Most of my clients, fortunately, are in a position to be able to do that. They're a little on edge doing it, but when I show them the data, hey, your home's likely to sell very quickly based on the comps, so on and so forth. Let's talk with a lender. Let's look at what options are available, what that looks like, whether it be a bridge loan, recasting after you buy. I think the lender is your go-to person after you've got that seller at a comfort level of at least exploring it. So having those conversations with lender, I think, is a big piece. And I mean, there are a ton of other options, gifts from parents, looking at retirement accounts, and maybe pulling money from there to be able to do those things. So I think that's first and foremost for me, is having that conversation about the option to buy before you sell.
Good points. Dustin, anything to add?
I think it's also educating the sellers that there's a 0% chance of their offer being accepted if they write a contingent offer in this market. So, you know,
half a percent.
right? So,
Handwritten
I
on
don't
the
know.
2006 card.
so you got to shoot straight first and help them understand that like that doesn't fly anymore, and not everybody understands that. So like that's number one.
And you know, real quick, I said this earlier. We all know this, but the public doesn't. And you have to think about that. Like, we know these things, but if you're not looking to move and you haven't been, you might not be paying attention to the real estate market. Even the articles or the news, you have to educate your client on that. Go ahead, sir.
So I think, yeah, it's giving them all of the options, and maybe starting with priority number one being you have to write a non-contingent offer. And so it's either you are going to be able to get qualified without having to get any kind of a bridge loan. That's option one. Get some sort of a bridge loan is another option to be able to write a non-contingent offer. But helping them understand that they have to be able to qualify for that. So not just everybody can just go get a bridge loan. You have to be able to qualify for that. So you have to help them understand that. And then it's like, okay, or we can list your house first, get that under contract, and then go shopping. But with that option, here's the risk. You might not find the house you like. And even if you do find the house you like, you're going to be competing with probably 20 other people. So if that's going to be the option we take, please have a plan B, where to go live.
See, I take the listing, I talk them into it, and I say, I know Dustin Anderson will help you find a house. He's a great buyer's agent. I sign the listing, and then I just turn him over.
Can I get in on that referral program?
Yeah,
Not
not
accepted.
just joking. Turn me into grievance or standards.
I do think
Lindsay.
the deal stories, though, like talking to your clients about other clients that you've worked with that maybe had to sell a house first and said, okay, they had a temporary housing situation, or let's negotiate 60 or 90 days for possession. Because let's be honest, there's clients out there that can't afford the bridge loan option. So it's really getting creative to help them get into something else. So offering them, temporary housing options. Let's get a pad, have it delivered to your house, fill it up, and then we'll have it delivered to your next house. Just helping them with some of those, help take some of that stress out of the equation, and helping them see, like telling them about your last client that just did that. We were successful. When you have your ducks in a row, we're able to write a strong offer. We have 60 days possession after close. That gives us a good chunk of time to find you something. I think that they learn to trust you, and then they know it takes a little bit of that worry out of it.
I'm surprised Ryan doesn't have a fleet of RVs that he's renting This might be his next business model, but summer glamping in the summer is an option, right?
Yeah, it's a thing. I've had clients do it.
I've offered temporary places to stay for people.
Yeah.
All right, well, good discussion.
I have
Thank you.
one other thing that buyers are gonna hate.
All right,
Buyers
all right.
agents are gonna hate.
All right.
But it's a thing that I've
This
seen.
is Dustin Anderson speaking.
Live on video.
I like how I've become the clown here, even though we have a clown right here. Is listing, having a listing be contingent on the sellers finding their next place. So not every buyer is going to be cool with that, but
Right.
some buyers actually might be cool with that, and that actually gives the seller an opportunity to take their time finding a place. So,
Creativity. And it might work, and you've
It might work.
got to try whatever you can in this market to create inventory. Great discussion, good points. I want to end it with 3 quick questions. We'll just go down the line. First one, just number one thing or biggest thing you can say as a listing agent that's just important for people out
I'd say communication. And I think for me, working with agents that I've worked with in the past, I've had some agents even, that I'm working with currently that don't communicate. We're having problems. You can't get a hold of them. That puts a really bad taste in my mouth for the next time I get a deal from you. I just really, in my book, that really is a big negative towards your offer, because at the end of the day, getting the deal closed is the most important thing to my seller. So I think for agents out there, just communicating through the whole process is just, we just did a deal, and it got shaky at the end because
Beau was
it's
on
contingent.
vacation.
Beau was on vacation.
Wow.
We were supposed to close on Friday, got pushed back, but I'm texting him, we're working on this, we should have our clear to close by Wednesday, we're really shooting for Friday. So just keeping them in the loop. I don't want to hound you down to find out where's that deal at. That just takes a lot of my energy and time. If you just shoot me a quick text, this is where it's at, it's in underwriting, I should have her clear to close today. It's looking really good.
Things happen in deals.
It does.
You can deliver bad news in a good fashion, but you just have to talk about it. We
Just talk
all
about
have been in that same situation or on the other side of the phone. Just call and let us know.
It was bad news, but it was proactively delivered, which means it's well received, right? There were no issues.
Yeah.
That's the key, proactive.
All right, good point. You've been warned. Lindsay warned you. Just one thing, Dustin, important for sellers listings.
I 100%. Are we talking about advice for listing agents?
Yes, next we're going to talk about buyer's advice, so listing agents.
So I would definitely say the communication part. I had a listing, or that was with an offer we were writing on a listing. The house was listed. The agent went on vacation. Did not tell anybody he went on vacation, and did not state it in the agent-only remarks. Offers were due by a certain time. I turned it in. We had to write this offer totally blindly. Turned it in. I said, "Hey, would you mind, confirming receipt?" Didn't hear back for like 2 more days, and then we find out that he went on vacation. And I lost my mind. So the communication part.
All right.
If I can't ask you questions about your own listing, you are not advocating for yourself.
Communication.
I'm going to go back to what I talked about earlier. I'm a data guy, so give as much information in your listing as you possibly can. Just because it's not a required field in the MLS doesn't mean you can just skip past it. Fill it out, attach documents, over communicate in the data and the documents in your listings.
Good
Provide
point.
as much.
Education, preparation, use data. One piece of advice for buyer's agents, and we talked about a lot. Just one. What do you got? Communication?
Ryan's like,
No.
quick, let's go.
I'm hot in this week. What? Just to recap.
Yeah, the appraisal gaps are becoming so popular. I've had so many people just like, can you borrow funds? Like, really help putting yourself in a position where you're going to win. And 90% of the time, you don't need those funds, but that's what people are picking up.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
get
good.
creative with your financing.
That's a good one.
Talk through your
Sure.
options.
Appraisal gap. Dustin?
Again, over communicate. Give the listing agent, if you're the buyer's agent, give the listing agent confidence in you to get the deal done. So I think a lot of it has to do with not hiding behind an email. It's calling.
Great
sending a
videos, great videos.
No one wants to be broken up with by text. Call. Okay, just tell
I would say what you mentioned about getting involved. I can't tell you as a buyer's agent how many times that's helped my clients get their offer accepted is just having good rapport with other listing agents. So I think there's huge value in knowing who you're working with, having a good reputation in the industry, getting involved, giving back. That would be my.
Is this going to hurt my reputation?
No, you're good.
I hope people stayed on. I logged off there. I don't know how many. The biggest
You can always
nugget.
rewatch it.
The biggest nugget of advice is here at the end. I should have stated that in the beginning. That's my bad. I didn't read my script. Two-part question. Where did you get your last listing from? And what is the best source right now for you to get listings?
I'd say mine just came from it was a past client, but I would say past client and referrals are my biggest source of business. So keeping in constant communication and just communicating with them throughout the deal so that they know what's going on. They feel confident with you. That just really, I've just seen how many referrals generate
From that.
from
Okay, so referrals, your spirit, Dustin?
It was, a referral from the neighbor across the street. And you guys ever have one street that apparently just loves you? So there's one street in Ogle Heights that they keep on calling me, and I'm grateful for that. The neighbors are talking amongst each other. I used to live there, so that's where the seed started.
Nice.
But just treat your clients like they're the most important people.
All right.
And, treat them right. Shoot straight with them.
Oh,
My last one, Lindsay sold. That was from actually another industry professional. So it was a referral from an appraiser in town. It was his mother's condo. I've done a lot of business with him. I've sent him a lot of business, and he reciprocated. And kind of a unique situation.
cool. Good answers. Maybe a different 3-on-3, we can get into creative ways to get listings so we can create some more inventory. Good stuff. Thank you. I'm excited to be done. Change.
Thank you for your commitment to this. This is amazing.
Don't dare me. 'Cause I'll do it.